Welcome, brothers. The Brotherhood of the Bengal is now ordained. Invite others. Formerly known as the Bang the Drum podcast, we will chat about common themes of playoff teams, free agency, salary cap up. We'll talk about that. Championship Sunday recap and an early look, which is now not an early look, but a look of the Super Bowl. Patriots, Seahawks, coaching updates, how the North shapes up now. A lot of changes, mock drafts. Looking forward to that. A ton of mock drafts out there now. In the inaugural edition of the Brotherhood of the Bengals. Next.
Voices rise as one. Brotherhood of the Bengal. Till the season's done. From the jungle to the headset. From the huddle to our homes. Brotherhood of the Bengal. We are never alone.
Welcome, brothers. The Brotherhood of the Bengal is now ordained. Invite others. Formerly known as the Bang the Drum podcast, we will chat about common themes of playoff teams, free agency, salary cap up. We'll talk about that. Championship Sunday recap and an early look, which is now not an early look, but a look of the Super Bowl. Patriots, Seahawks, coaching updates, how the North shapes up now. A lot of changes, mock drafts. Looking forward to that. A ton of mock drafts out there now. In the inaugural edition of the Brotherhood of the Bengals. Next. Hello, Stevie boy.
What's up, Scotty D? How you, my man?
I'm good. Our first edition, the Brotherhood of the Bengal, formerly known as Bang the Drum podcast.
Yes.
We will not talk about that going forward, the Bang the Drum, but decided to do a rebrand, a little change, our own song, our own everything, Stevie boy. I'm excited about it. How about you?
I'm very excited. We grew and we thought we needed to go a different direction, so we did.
And we nothing against the Bang the Drum. We liked it, but now it's our own song. Our own this, our own that. We like that much better. We are the Brotherhood, Stevie boy, part of the Brotherhood, the giant Brotherhood of the Bengals. Talk about what you're drinking here real quick. We're doing a repeat beer. I'm doing the same today. And I'll talk about the cigar because this is a unique cigar, my friend. Go ahead.
Yeah. We are drinking the Muskie lager. We've drank this before. I needed beer, so we decided to drink the same thing that we've tried out before, and I needed it, so that's what we done. So this is actually really good beer. It's really good beer. It's got good flavor. It's got good depth. Unlike the Bengals. But yes, I enjoy this beer.
I like it too. So I'm smoking I'm looking up because I almost forgot the name. It's Oak and Iron cigar. So
Oak and Iron.
it's an off-brand. Shouldn't say it. It's a premium cigar. You just went off the air there. What happened there? Oh, there you go. It is. It's called The Boss. A Boss. So it's off of that Dry Creek Wrangler School YouTube channel. I think he's got his own cigars there. He smokes and talks to people, kind of like an old wise sage with a giant beard. He teaches people how to ride horses and whatnot. So it's actually a really good cigar. It's only the second one I've had. Got it here a week or so ago. So pretty cool stuff. We got a lot to talk about, Stevie boy. So we tried to do an episode there, was that a week ago? We had all kinds of issues, and that would have been the finale of the Bang the Drum podcast. So here we are. So we skipped that. We're going on. Excited to be here. We're going to talk about some of the stuff, I forgot that we didn't really cover, but there were Joe Burrow trade rumors galore with the Vikings, which is kind of crazy. And then shortly thereafter, not long after, the Vikings GM was hit the road out of the blue, and there was nobody reporting that one, which is kind of interesting. So, we're not going to relay everything to the Bengals, but when you make bad decisions and you're a championship-seeking team, see Buffalo, or tough losses, typically speaking, after a given period of time, something happens. And, it's a power struggle. It seems like that's been the case with a few coaches, definitely in Buffalo, no matter how they frame it, but it feels like it that way in Minnesota. You don't know what, the coach of Donald was saying, but to let Darnold walk, he's in the Super Bowl. heads will roll when you're not and your quarterback. That surprised you when he's gone because he was much valued.
No, there's been some bad decisions up that way. I mean, I'm not surprised it's gone. I would think now was the right time for it. You know what I mean? I thought there was some decisions that he made were pretty good. I mean, he brought Donald in, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you can't make a move like that. Him play as well as they did. I don't think that they trusted him. I don't think they believed in what they saw. And shame on him because he ended up being a pretty damn good quarterback.
He's playing really well. He I had a high draft grade on him. Looked pretty stupid there for a number of years. His footwork was so bad. Yeah.
And look who he was drafted to.
It was part that, but his footwork is still that way sometimes when he gets a lot of pressure on him. He gets a little I thought he was going to be, my comparison for him back then was Tony Romo. And now, it's not that bad of a comp for him now, right? It certainly didn't look like the case there for a while, but he's playing really well. Kubiak, I think we'll talk about him a little bit. I thought he was one of the best hires out of this group. Looks like he's going to the Raiders, and Mendoza will go to the Raiders. So, what he's done with that offense, especially his dad's roots, he's been around coaching. You'll hear a lot of, they make it about race, which is nonsense, but you'll hear a lot about players not getting jobs as coaches. I had this argument with people. Here's the deal, though. If you're a good player, look at D'Amico Ryans is the exception, but if you're a pretty good player, you play until you're 30 or more, right? Kubiak and all these guys, and Belichick and all of them, and Reed that weren't good enough to make it, they're taking notes when they're in college. I heard Sims talk about Shanahan doing how he's at Texas, right? So they know they're not going to make it to the big leagues, so what do? They're studying the coaching profession, so they're already 8 to 10 years ahead of you. By the time you're there, and coaching and playing is two different things, right? So you see that, and it's a big change there. So pretty interesting. I don't know. I didn't believe in Darnold last year, to be fair. I didn't really believe in him this year. But
I didn't either, but
now
you can't complain with what he's done.
No, and beat some good teams getting there. So that West Division, is really tough. You had a chance to watch the Niners show, Brady's Niners show. You watched it yet?
No, but it's on my list to watch.
I'll try not to ruin it for you, but I do want to comment on a few things while it's hot.
I mean, that whole era it makes me a little sick to my stomach because I didn't hate a team more than I hated Niners for certain reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it may be a little bit of an issue to watch it, but once I get going, it's always cool to go back and just watch these guys I grew up watching, how talented they were, and I'm looking forward to watching it.
It's really good. I finished it. To do a comparison of it, like the Elway documentary on Netflix was okay, and they rushed it. I don't know why you would do that. I wouldn't make it an hour and a half show. I would do an episode, right? Make it episodic. 7, 8 episodes, whatever you need. There's a lot of the Elway piece they left out. Good pieces of it. Is your mic about to fall off or something? Tighten that bad boy up. Take your time.
It's already. It's just staying on there very good, old brother.
Yeah,
I'll deal with it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So so the Niners, that piece, they took some pretty hard shots at Paul Brown. I don't know if you heard it yet, Stevie Boy, but it's interesting because I had never heard of this before, but he picked the other coach's name escaped me now. I'm talking about Bill. I'll look it up in a second. It's amazing. It's just running to my tongue. So he picked Bill over Walsh. It's not Bill. What is his name? I'll think of a second. So Bill Walsh, the thing that I didn't know, and I mean, who knows if it's true or not, but the reports are that Bill Walsh was the genius behind everything there early on with the Bengals, right? And Paul Brown wouldn't let him interview with anybody and just hammered on him when the coaches would come ask about him. That's kind of surprising, huh, Stevie? I didn't think.
A little bit, yeah.
I didn't know that. But they swear all the people involved say it's true. And Walsh just took the high road and wouldn't do it. But he really wanted to beat the Bengals that first time, right? Especially later on, he still wanted to win, but him and Weiss were pretty close. So even when he got the opportunity to bash him at the end, he wouldn't do it. But supposedly, he really held him back and squashed him, and he could have went somewhere else. It's a big miss, and it sounds very familiar to what we're seeing now. Because you had the genius on the staff, but you're hard-headed. You got some sort of animosity. Where there's a genius out there and you decide to stick with what, the guy that doesn't ruffle the feathers, right? The guy is surprising watch. But I'll say this, the cool part, again, not to run it for you, is Tom Brady's just a fan doing this, right? And he did a hell of a job, like narrating it. The awe he had for Montana, the more so even Jerry Rice as he's throwing the pass. He grew up watching these guys, right? And he talks about how it inspired him. And Montana is cool as hell in this today. He's cool as hell as you would think he would be if you watch the Montana documentary on Peacock. He's just a cool, calm customer. But when they mentioned Steve Young, who he was civil with, he goes, I wasn't going to let him play over me. I knew I was better. Even today, right? So that's what you want, right? What a dominant team. And, people are quick to say in our era, quick to say that the 85 Bears are the best team ever. I don't think so, man. Like, the 84 Niners beat them. They lost one game all year. Nobody came close to them in the playoffs. And then the 89 Niners, that team's probably beaten any team I've ever seen, I think, honestly. The 89 Niners, right? 88 was shaky to beat the Bengals. They finally got it going. That 89 team, nobody even touched them. Come close to them in the playoffs. And, it's easy to say Brady's the GOAT, and I get it. And I think I agree with it. But he didn't get the hit like Montana did, right? And he got shelled, especially the quarterbacks of today. So it's a good watch. It's a good watch, Steve, boy, if you want to watch it.
Well, I'm going to.
You're going to watch it.
I am absolutely.
You're definitely going to watch it. You're going to take the time, sit down, and watch football instead of horror
Yes,
movies.
when I got time, I will watch it. That's the issue right now is having time. Unfortunately,
you've been a busy dude. So
I have.
Going to talk about something here. We're going to talk about some common themes from playoff teams. I think one of the biggest themes that I've watched, two defensive coordinator, two guys on defense, won their respective championship games, right? So the offense is all the talk, right? And I do get it. You get a young quarterback, you don't want to be flipping coordinators all the time. I do get that. But two defensive guys are in the championship, right? And they won, really good game between Denver and New England. The weather impacted it. Who knows if Bo Nix would have played, but Peyton got a little risky there, cost them. But you hear the players talking about Vrabel. Man, I wish you could see here. How he treats the players, and then, what McDonald's done in Seattle has been remarkable. I wanted to talk about a little bit about it. And the MIT thing I watched, I was forced to watch it. Not forced. It was actually pretty enjoyable. So, Daryl Morey, Sam, what's his face there was the GM of the Sixers. You have Billy Bean from the A's, and the guy that was under him, not DePodesta. The other guy was under him, worked for the Giants or whatever. So they speak so confidently, right? And the thing that that gets me is they talk about how basketball is different. So I'm relating this. I'm going to talk about the Browns' struggles here. So they go through it, and this is dated. It's a few years ago, but they're talking about through this. And Morey said, I don't know why. He's a funny dude, man. He's the GM of the Sixers right now. He's really funny and likable, and so is Bean. They're likable. I get why people gravitate to him. But he said, I don't understand the NFL. There's no NFL guys here on this. I don't understand the NFL. Why would you punt the ball? Sound familiar? Analytics nonsense, right? Why would you punt the ball? We realized in basketball, if you shoot 50 threes a game, 3's worth more than 2. Granted. But here's the point you're missing there. Funny guy like him. If they call travels that they used to call before you started shooting 53s a game, you got more turnovers than made field goals. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
So all your analytics doesn't work. And Billy Bean said, they asked me this. I'm not going to belabor this too much. This is hilarious to me. Could you guys go into other sports and be GMs like football quickly? Yes. Yes, we could. First thing I would do is hire Paul DePodesta. DePodesta, he didn't know what was going to happen probably. This is film. DePodesta had one of the worst runs in NFL history when he's with the Browns. Crazy, huh? He's horrible. He's out of league. And I'll say this, and I'll get your thoughts on it. Combined championships on that panel, Steve, what do you think it was?
4. Let's say 6.
0.0. Because as smart as they think they are, as cool as it is to hire Ivy League guys, Stanford guys, and pat yourself on the back how smart you are, the sports guys are still beating you. Day in, day out. In football, what's happening to you, boy? Blocking, tackling, fundamental coaches, GMs are still beating the quote-unquote wizard kids. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I wish it would go back to where it was about football, the fundamentals, Uh, I mean, there's some analytics that make a little sense to me. As far as I can see it with my own eyes, some of it I don't see, and I'm like, okay, that don't make no sense. But some of it I see, and I'm like, okay, I can see why they're rated like that, or the point scale is the way it is. But for the most part, I'm like, look, can we just worry about a handful of stats and look at it with our own eyes? Like see what we're seeing on the field. As far as, I mean, some of these goofballs that I mean, let's face it, half the people that are in these front offices don't belong to be there. That
Yeah.
they don't belong there, and they're there because of reputation. They're there maybe because of money,
Connections.
connections. Yes, for sure. And it's bad for the sport. It's bad for the sports, and it's the whole Billy Bean thing was a good story
It's a
for
good movie.
a handful of years, right? And then like, where's it been? So, not real big on where a lot of these sports have went, especially baseball. I can't, half the stuff they talk about or whatever. I'm like, I could care less. Give me a batting average, give me an on base percentage.
Yep.
That's all I care about. I can look at the two and go, okay, they're pretty good. Well, why you got to combine them? I don't, if somebody was sitting at a desk and decided they want to do that, and then they took it and ran with it, and I don't necessarily, agree, but who am I? I ain't
Who
nobody.
am I?
Who am I?
The other side of that is like a couple points. Morey said that we hope that people get so involved in analytics that they overcorrect and that's all they rely on. That I agree with. There's your advantage. The difference is too, like there's no competitive advantages fundamentally in football, NFL. You could be the New York team with all the money. It doesn't matter. You can only do so much, right? There's a salary cap, right? In baseball, it's different. So you understand why he did it, and you get all that. I think I read, like, as a GM, he won one playoff series his entire career. He's probably the most overrated GM in the history of the sport.
Probably.
What did Theo Epstein do?
Yeah.
Broke curses by spending money.
Mhm.
Look, are the Dodgers winning championships?
They are.
So if all that was true, something would have happened different. It's no different now than it would have been 15, 20 years ago if they're spending that money, right? The best teams, and you'll look at analytics, it says this, it says this, using the baseball example, and you get some scout out there that knows what he's doing and he labels him a 5-tool player. He's still the best players. You're still going to pick them and know who they are, whether you got an analytics sheet or not, right? It's just, it's mind numbing. And same with football, right? So, less important in football and basketball, they've ruined the sport, right? Which is travels galore so you can shoot threes. I would venture 75% of 3-pointers are travels, right? So it's kind of interesting, but the NFL got caught up in that craze. I think they're less into it now. You could argue, I don't know what Sean Payton, I'll get back to it. Sean Payton's reasoning was for not going for the field goal there in the game. I don't care. Like analytics views that all the same. It's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, whatever it was. Yo, right here, Aikman, all these idiots talk about. I don't know what they're talking about. But every game situation is different. Your opponent is different. In a snow game like that, you're not scoring more than 13 points, right? You knew the weather was coming. That field goal means more in that game than it does a regular game where the Bengals are playing and Burrow's healthy, right? You follow me? It's not equal. You got to understand that, and you can't account for that, right? So,
and it doesn't account for that.
No, it can't. And there's too many variables that they look at. So back to the Bengals, you look at some of the free agency there that New England in particular, but the one that stood out to me is the linebacker Ellis. And the Bengals are certainly not the only team that missed him. I think he's a practice squad from another team, Philly. I think he flies everywhere. You see him play, that guy's everywhere. He's way better than the linebackers the Bengals have, and he was on a practice squad. No wasted draft pick. The guy's everywhere, and that's where your pro personnel scouting matters, right? And by that argument, I'll backtrack on what I've said before and speak out of both sides of my mouth and get your thoughts on it. I don't think their scouting department is underserved when it comes to college football. I don't. Pro personnel, I do. You got 32 teams. You got 31 other teams, right? You need to know every single team, every position on the roster. They don't have enough people for that. And you miss on guys like that. Again, they're not the only one. Your thoughts on their staff in general in terms of scouting?
Yeah, I've always said I thought it needed to be more actually way more extensive, and it definitely needs to be bigger.
That's what she said.
Some some of those practice squad guys are young guys anyway, so they already evaluated them in college, so they should know them. I mean, if they don't, shame on them, right? But so what bothers me the most about, I think they get something in their head, and they do it as a group. So they're led by example, and we know who they're led by, right? So they take what they're being told, and then they run with what that, or whatever vision that he, or they always say quote unquote we, but I don't necessarily believe that, is looking for. And when you don't, and I said this 4 or 5 episodes ago, they have to build this year on free agency. If they don't build on free agency, when you come to the draft, you're drafting for need. You're not drafting best player available. So, I mean, shame on Philly, right? For
They're just a
not
stacked
having
team
him
now.
on. Well, I guess, but
On defense, they are.
yeah, but I mean, uh, you need to know your opponents. You need to know everybody in the league, and you need to know, especially like this year, they'll be pretty up high early. You know, when cuts are made, there's going to be some people available that they'll be able to get. I just hope that they take last year, and with all the faults they had in free agency, that they dig deeper, they are aggressive, and they know everyone that's out there, and because they're, I mean, let's face it, they've got some room, but they're still like top 8, 10.
Yep.
They don't have, the money to go out and spend $30 million on Trey Hendrickson. He would take up 85% of their cap, right? You can't do that. So they're going to have to get some 5, 7, 8, 9, $1 million guys, some guys of field leadership. Well, what does all that? How do you learn that? You learn that by your scouts. You learn all the small fundamentals that these players have that maybe other teams missed. Well, I think that's where they're lacking. I think they miss those opportunities. And they've been big on, so-called, hey, are you a good guy? Okay, I get it. I don't want no pricks in the locker room either, but sometimes that can give you an edge as long as you're not too bad in the locker room. And hopefully they go outside the box a little bit this year, and they do their due diligence, and they get some of these guys drafted. So signed. So when free agency comes around, that the draft comes around, that they're not reaching, man, and they're not trying to fill needs.
It's tricky because, in the past, they had some characters, right? And it feels like got a lot of heat for it. Probably deservedly so. Still good teams.
A lot of them were players.
Oh,
but,
yeah. Burfict was a player.
So,
yeah. So was Pac-Man, right? He's absolute, you know what he is. He's an idiot, right? And that's being kind, but he can play.
Yep.
So I think, they got a lot of heat for that, and they overcorrected. I think the good news from all this, whether he has rabbit ears or not, he being Mike Brown, I think they do. And they heard it this offseason, man. This is the roughest offseason on and on
for sure
time. And I think they're going to be a little more aggressive. I really do. And I think it's going to hit home a little bit. Daryl Morey, that guy I mentioned, the Sixers GM, he came into it and they asked him about, what are your thoughts on missing guys and what's the draft like and blah, blah, blah. And he basically he had like a defeatist attitude. I think he's doing it to be funny a little bit. But he's like, yeah, we missed. It's horrible.
Yeah.
We're horrible at this job. They have 2 rounds. And he goes, I wish we had rounds like you do in baseball. Of course, they'd have like 15, 20 rounds, right?
Right.
And even Bean said, sometimes you think you know a guy. This is interesting to me before we get to the draft, because you think you know a guy and he was being serious. Like you get in 3 weeks into, spring training and stuff, and you see him out there with the rookie ball or whatever it is, and you say, our 3rd round guy is better than our 1st round guy. And you brag to the owner and you said, well, what happened to our 1st round guy? Well, and he said, so until they see him in their world, sometimes baseball's different. But Maury said the same thing with basketball, which I find that hard to believe. I've said who I like in basketball before coming out of college. You got tape on them. I just don't understand. I think they over-evaluate. We talked about it off the air. I think they do in the NFL too. They're so critical of these guys. They forget what they can do that is good, right?
And you got to remember, so the one positive I think the Bengals have with having a smaller department is you have less voices.
Yep.
The more voices you have in your ear, then the less of the negativity of a certain player can be. Like, say, if you've got 15 guys and 5 or 6 of them are saying this, and you're like, well, okay, you're almost outnumbered because some of them may be on the fence, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you've got 4 and only one of them are like, well, we're not really sure, about this player. Well, then guess what? Yeah, majority wins there. So there's more majority, and that can become an issue also.
And I'll say this, like, maybe I was this way younger. I'm not now, and I probably need to be more this way. But you get you bring in the owner or a GM. In Duke's case, he's GM. We'll call him whatever you want. And he gets up, and he didn't even have to pound the table. He's more of a soft spoken guy, but he gets up and says, "I like this guy." Immediately, that confirmation bias is there, and there's nothing. That's just psychology 101. Anything will tell you that. So.
Yep.
So there's two things. You believe that, or did I miss something? Maybe you're not confident enough, A. And B, as Maury said, and those guys have talked about it in their world, and they're right. People don't want to put their head on the block because it's hard to get those jobs.
It is.
So, you're not coming out and saying, so it's always tricky. Like what you want, I heard Saban talk about it years ago when he was with the Browns film zone. Like, you don't want a bunch of people thinking the same way. You got to be able to speak up and say, hey, you remember him with Belichick? He said he's leaning back on a rocker, being typical of Nick Saban. He goes, "I'm just saying this," because they're all talking about one thing. Interrupts everybody. "I'm just saying this. We play like we did last time. We're going to go in there and get our asses beat," right? And everybody just kind of clams up, right? I think the Bengals got a lot of yes people in there, right? And I think that's their culture, and that's not a good thing, both as players and staff. So that piece is interesting to me. Free agency's coming up. I did a deep dive on Devin Lloyd, the linebacker, not because I think the Bengals are going to go after him, just looking at players. Had to write some scouting reports on him and stuff. So guy like him, you think about him as you look at him. If you only evaluate this past year, new coordinator in Jacksonville, right? Played more to his strengths. He's one of the best linebackers in the league. But he wasn't the years before. And my cousin Dan, who he would talk about fantasy football way back in the early 90s. He'd say, if you see somebody, you're talking 93 or 94 or something, you see somebody in a contract year, draft them. Fantasy football. And, you think about all that's going through their head because they're paying these guys, right? And their jobs are on the line. Is Lloyd worth it? Did he play just much better because of the coordinator? He's still good before that. He was elite this year. He had 5 interceptions, a long one. He was everywhere. So you got to think about all that. And from a draft perspective, we use Mendoza as an example. I think he's more level-headed. But you're putting a guy that's played really well in college. You're giving him a whole lot of money. Quarterback, think about the pressure. It doesn't matter if you're 1 or 12, right? The pressure is immense. Can he deal with that? He hasn't had to deal with that. Talent level is a little equal now where you're less on a team like the Raiders. Bunch of money at you, pressure. You're working with adults. They factor all that in too. You follow me?
Sure.
That's tough, right? For any player. So, all right. So we look at a lot of free agencies out there. We're going to get into more of that next week. Wow, coaching updates like crazy. So the Browns. We'll look at the AFC North. We'll start with the Browns because it's the biggest. I saw people on Twitter arguing about it, and you get this response from everybody. Every fan base does it. Well, let's give the guy a chance. Why would you value what you got? Like, that's stupid. Like, so that means every draft pick and every hire that any team does, you can't say anything about him for another 4 years. That's fun. That really means you know what you're talking about, right? So they hired Monken in large part because the other people turned him down. That's a fact. That's how they got there. And now they've ran Schwartz off, who's mad. May the Schwartz be with you. Monken won't even talk about Schwartz. And their owner Haslam says they're not dysfunctional. Is that dysfunction in your mind, Stevie Boy?
That's 100% dysfunctional. That organization has been dysfunctional for as long as I can remember. They made some good moves, and they ended up screwing those moves up that they actually got correct. So, yeah, it's 100% dysfunctional, and I hope they keep it up.
Yeah, the Pelsari. So we didn't really talk about this. He said what Haslam wants. He wants somebody from Ivy League that looks Ivy League. And when you stand to him, he's dressed real nice, all that kind of stuff. So analytics kind of ruined that team, right? The previous GM, Dorsey, had that team going the right direction, right? They had to stumble with coach, but talent was there. Then they go analytics, you see what's happened. But, Monken's not that either. He's not that button up. I think he's a decent offensive mind. He would have been a coordinator with the Giants, but That's not a good hire in my opinion for
Nope.
what was out there. So I think Zach moves up. I don't know who I would rate higher, Zach or Stefanski. It's a tough one. I think you could make a debate for either one. You know what I'm saying? Stefanski had less talent for sure, and the record was pretty close.
I think Stefanski.
Yeah, probably so, but I think Zach's better than him. So now Zach's third.
Yep.
We'll talk about maybe he's higher than that. Baltimore goes with Jesse Minter. I like the hire, but the question is, what does that do for Lamar, right? And you got all that controversy around that. I think Minter will be a good coach. Mount St. Joe's guy, we talked about it before. Cincinnati roots, his dad. I think his dad was Rick Minter, coach UC. So you got all Cincinnati roots there. I think it's a good hire for them because it transforms them back to what they were, what Harbaugh really wanted to be, right? Lamar came along, was that defensive punch in the mouth. So I think they're going to be that again. But what does it do with Lamar? Your thoughts on that hire?
That's a tough one because I don't think no one really knows. I don't know if he goes with the same scheme. I won't say it's heavy run, but it's definitely more run attack. Lamar is good on the crossers. He's good on something else.
Easy
You
stuff.
know what I mean? The easy stuff, the check downs. I think that and honestly, that's why I think, it's probably actually a pretty good hire because he's seen it from afar. He ain't got blinders on. So I think he knows coming into the situation what Lamar is. So I hope it don't go as good as what I think it's going to go, but I think it's going to go pretty good. It's a good organization, man.
Yeah, they are. They are, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, and but I hope. I don't know. I hope it doesn't work out, but I got a feeling it's going to work out pretty good. It was a pretty good hire, and I don't know how much energy he's got left in him. He still looks like once he gets ahead of speed, dude, he's still a player.
Yeah, he's a little choppy.
Yeah.
He's still had a good year for sure.
He always was, but he was so fast and he had enough wiggle. But now that wiggle's gone.
Yeah.
Like he has to hit the hole. Once he's got it, he's still got good speed and he's strong.
Big time.
Big as an ox, right? So strong. So
he could drop off. You get that age at a running back, you could fall off.
Yeah, and he's had the hell beat out of him.
He sure has. A ton of carries. So they hired the Declan Doyle kid. He's 29 years old from the Bears, right? As offensive coordinator. How's that going to work if things start going south, right?
Yeah.
I think long-term Minter will be good for him. Short-term, I don't know. I like the hire and I understand it. But with Jackson, I think, that offense has got to be so much tailored to him. They can argue all they want about him. Like, you can't put him in any system because he's really not that good of a quarterback. He's a runner, right?
Right.
And he's a damn good runner. But he's been banged up too, right? So that's going to be interesting to see what they do there and what the plan is. Still a lot of rumors floating around he may be gone. I don't believe it. This time of year, though, stuff happens, man. Signings and trades happen. They won't become official till we're getting close, right? You're just over a month for the new year, the NFL New Year.
Yep.
So look at Pittsburgh. So in my lifetime, our lifetime, and most people's lifetime, it's been a defensive-minded coach. Chuck Noll, then Bill Cowher, sticking his chin out, and then Mike Tomlin. Tomlin was off under the radar hire for sure. Cowher was around, they act like he was a nobody, but he coached under Schottenheimer, right? He had a name. So now a big name comes, but it's an offensive name. Anywhere else, I think this is a really good hire. And I know it's going to sound like we're just being biased to Pittsburgh, but it's so out of character for them. And he's not young. They've always hired young.
Yeah.
So is a Rodgers back? What does that look like? Can he turn that offense into something? I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
I don't know that it's a good hire for Pittsburgh. Your thoughts?
I don't either. There's he must have not. I won't say that. There must have not have been a ton of choices for Mike. But it is the Steelers. They are consistent. And again, they're a pretty damn good organization too. They have their faults, but they usually come back from these things if they have a quarterback. That's always been the issue, is if they got a quarterback, they do a really good job building around their star quarterbacks. But when they don't, it's kind of been like it's been the last 4 or 5 years. It's just not.
They still win more than most franchises would.
Exactly.
Right?
But you're not going to win championships.
No chance.
And eventually, especially with an organization like Pittsburgh, that's not what they
Mhm.
strive for. So that's the difference that, what we talk about all the time, the disconnect of, competing or winning it all is two totally different things. But both Baltimore and Pittsburgh, they have a certain killer instinct, I guess. Uh, they got Lamar, right? So at least Baltimore can try and build around a pretty good quarterback.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and let's face it, I mean, in my mind, he's not elite. He's an elite athlete who just happens to play quarterback who can throw 10-yard outs. Cannot throw the deep ball worth a damn. Pittsburgh, they've struggled, dude. They've struggled finding a quarterback, and it showed.
Yep, and they won just enough. They've been good enough that where you can't get the quarterback, right? It's a
Yep.
catch-22.
Yep.
It's the old
And that defensive line for Pittsburgh is getting old.
they are big time.
Eventually, dude, I'm telling you, everybody keeps talking this. Eventually, that shit's going to catch up with him.
Why doesn't he's not as good right now, right?
No,
He's not.
he stays injured.
Yeah, Highsmith, he's hurt all the time.
He's like Bosa. If you can't stay healthy, then you're especially at that position, you're going to start going downhill.
Cam Hayward played really well, but he's
Yeah.
he's up there, and they're just not that good, really. But coaching in the franchise got them to end the playoffs, right? I think Tomlin's taking a year off.
So, do you
now.
think that's a lateral move, pretty much, between McCarthy and Tomlin? Or
Probably. I'd say they're probably the same, but you never know culture-wise, right? And that's where Tomlin was good at it. Like him or not, I don't. Maybe I don't care now.
Yeah. Who gives a damn
who
now?
gives a shit now? But like his culture and how he reacted to players and how he did things, I think it propelled them to be better than they were. Ultimately, I think that hurt them as a franchise, ironically, right? You're just too much better. You're too good because you really weren't that good. You're never going to compete for a championship, like you said. And they get in the playoffs, they get waxed typically, right? But they get in it every year. And part of that is I think the AFC North's been highly overrated, which I've said that before, right? Highly overrated. So it'll be interesting to see there. The hire I like.
But I think the coaching has been a lot of the reason why they're overrated, right?
Oh, yeah. Tomlin and Harbaugh, right?
Yeah.
And I think Harbaugh's was transitioning him. So I think him in New York, I think he's going to do a really good job there. He's already talking, right? And Jackson Dart, I think he's going to, play well. I think it'd been better for him if Monken got in there, but I think the Giants will do well. One of the hires I really like. Sometimes you may like a hire and you may not like a hire, but then when you hear their staff, it changes your opinion on it. So I think Cam Ward, who I've been pretty rough on in the draft process, I actually bought a couple autograph cards of his Stevie Books. I think he's going to be really good. Solid there. I think it's an excellent hire, especially with Dave Ball as the offensive coordinator. I think that Titans team will take a jump next year. A big jump.
Well, the draft picks are going to help for sure.
They're going to be a good team. And I think, the Colts, who knows what they're going to do with Daniel Jones. Now they're back in the same predicament they were in prior to Daniel Jones. Quarterback, Jacksonville, I don't know if they're that good. Their defense played really well, and Trevor played pretty well, right? So I think Colts might be a surprise team. They're looking at it early. And, you look at, I think Kubiak will do a good job with the Raiders. The reports are the Jets are going to throw. Jets have a bounty of picks. And I'm curious what your opinion is on this. I don't know how I feel about it. Watch Mendoza over and over and over again being in the Big Ten. I like him. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that he's that upper echelon. And if they're offering that bounty of picks, I'd be tempted to take it. They won't. I think the Raiders will pick him. I think that's part of the enticement for Kubiak to take that job and Brady. I'd be tempted to do it if you were them because if the Jets offer a ton, which they have, your thoughts?
I think he's a good talent. He did play in the Big Ten. He won some big games. Played pretty well. There was games that wasn't his best, but you're going to have that.
I State and Miami did a good job on him.
Yeah. I guess if you look at next year, you know what I mean, and you think but then again, I mean, you're hoping you're going to win this year. So if you're there this year, then you're not going to be up in the 1, 2, 3 range anyway. So I think it all comes down to what you think your team's going to be like, what you think you can build this year, because you're not going to be in that top echelon to get a top 3 pick. So,
and if you're the Raiders, I think that's where you got to do a realistic review of who you are, and most teams don't. So if you're the Raiders and you realistically look at who you are, and you want Mendoza, I'm all for that. If I'm them with Kubiak, I get it, and I would stay there. That's fine. But I would trade Crosby because by the time you're actually going to be
I would too.
good,
I would too.
by the time you're going to be good, he's not going to be the same player. So, who knows what you could get out of him? But if you get a mid to late first round pick and maybe a late pick for him, I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
And that's where you got to correctly assess and view things strategically long term, where you want to be and where you think you can be. Most teams don't do it because it's win, win, win. But with Kubiak, a new coach there, and you believe in him, he's young. That's what I would do. That will be interesting as well. So, a lot of movement, coaches, that's a crazy amount of coaches. And finally, Buffalo, I think Joe Brady, I just don't understand if you're moving on from McDermott in-house, you're upset that the offense didn't do this or that and your team and you had this and all the controversy that you stay in-house. It tells me that they just got mad and had an emotional reaction to McDermott losing again. And I firmly believe this, they fired him not knowing who they wanted.
Good chance he may be in their backup plan.
Probably.
It kind of looks like that. I mean, in my opinion, this is a bad hire for Buffalo. I don't see where this is an upgrade whatsoever. I think they dropped the ball, and I think they're going to realize it pretty early.
Yep, and now you look at, we'll talk about the Super Bowl shortly, but you look at, people think the Patriots got another dynasty brewing here, looking at their cap space, the coach and the quarterback. So looking up at them again, chasing them, right, which has been the story of the Bills for the last 26 years or whatever, for the most part, except that small gap there. So the Hall of Fame and Pro Bowl, complete joke. I saw one guy announcer who I don't like, our media dude, self-proclaimed genius. He's saying, all these people complain about the Pro Bowl like it ever mattered. Well, it mattered in terms of like a resume. He went to 5 Pro Bowls. So that guy's an idiot because it did matter, right? The game doesn't matter. All pros would always matter to me. How many all pros or second team, third team, first team, whatever you are. That's what matters. But now it's just a complete joke, right?
Yeah, it's a joke.
Right? Just absolute joke. Hall of Fame. I posted Jimmy Johnson was on a rant. I tweeted on it, just commented. It's like, if Belichick's not a first team Hall of Famer, there's no such thing as a first team Hall of Famer. He got 15, 20,000 views, whatever it was. It's, that's a joke as well. They talk about Spygate, and I mentioned this before. I interviewed a couple players on a podcast. It's probably still out there somewhere, that said the reason Mangini knew about it because he did it. I think I talked to you about this. He was doing it. The other teams were doing it. I got posted a video from 1991. It's a Browns-Bengals game. And Belichick, they quote him as saying he's worried about he had extra security around his practice because he thought the Bengals were recording him, right? This was just common practice. What the Astros did wasn't. Stealing signs was. How they did it was. And so if I bring technology into it, don't let it on the field, right? And the same way with what Michigan did, that's a different animal. You're putting somebody on a coach's box with another team. But they've been doing that forever. And, I've had this discussion about Greg Williams, right, with Peyton. That's why Peyton would call Goodell every few days. I don't know if you read an article, call him an idiot when he was unemployed. He had his number. He just screamed at him. You did this. The reason he did that because he knew everybody was doing it. You ask old players, they were all putting bounties on quarterbacks, right? Yeah. The bottom line is the referees were there anyway. The rules still applied. It doesn't matter if you had a $2 million bounty. The penalties weren't called, right, any more than any other game on Favre. So that's how Goodell works, and, his whole study is just a shady dude. So championship Sunday, we'll do this real quick. We'll get to the draft. We talked about, it's going to be Patriots. Seattle, good matchup. Recap of the 14th Super Bowl when, quite frankly, the Patriots got really lucky to win that one. Didn't run Marshawn Lynch. But this is going to be a good game, interesting matchup. I think top to bottom, I think Seattle is the better team. But Drake May's legs and what he can do, that play where he got the first down. So Patriots, Seattle for all the marbles. One final, I won't speak negatively about it. I'll turn it to you. This is the NFL championship game. Screw Bad Bunny. But I got to tell you something. It's not about Bad Bunny for me. It is and it's not. If it's my favorite band in the world, if it's you playing, I don't want it. I'm there for the NFL championship game. Everything should be about that.
That's not very nice.
I know. The pregame shouldn't be longer. They take the field, everything should be normal. The halftime length should be normal. This is the championship game, and Goodell and them, more than any other commissioner, have turned the championship game into a joke to draw viewers. I hate it. Your thoughts on that? Your pick and the bet. Who would you bet on?
I'll do the pick first. I like Seattle. I like New England covering. I had 4.5. And then as far as the halftime shenanigans, I just liked it back when it was Janet Jackson.
Quick and out. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But no, when it comes down to it, it's all been corporate. It's all what can we
Showbiz.
do for the buck? But we keep getting back in the seats. We keep watching on TV, so we're basically saying it's okay.
My argument back when they played preseason games and preseason game 3 mattered, right?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it more than the Super Bowl. I'd always say that because it was about the game, right? And it's just so much hoopla, so much garbage. It's a shame. So you're picking Seattle and you're picking New England plus the points, which it is 4.5. Kind of stayed around there for the most part. I think New England's going to pull it out. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think, the mirror of this team is the 2001 Patriots. The winning streak with Brady, the out of the blue, a lot of no names on defense. And who knows, it might be a dynasty, right? It's tough to do, but you look at how they're set up cap-wise, young quarterback, rookie contract. They're set up well, a great coach.
They are.
They're going to be tough to beat, but I think it's going to be a good game. Seattle's a really good team. Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State's a tough cover, so it's going to be a fun game to watch. I hope New England wins. They're kind of an interesting guy. Tom Curran covers their team. He was on with Florio, and him and Sims are going at each other. They're buddies, though. But it got pretty heated there, and Florio said, "I want my popcorn or something." But Curran made an interesting point here, and then we'll get to the draft. He said, "I think Josh McDaniels, this is definitely debatable, I think Josh McDaniels is the greatest offensive coordinator of all time," he said. You know what? He might be right. Mike Martz is certainly an equation.
Bill Walsh put together,
Absolutely.
that run and shoot and the West Coast. Sorry, what he done was pretty much ahead of his time. Most of them concepts are, the main parts of most offenses today. But what he's done with the Patriots is pretty damn good. He's went other places and not so much, but what he's done, he's found a home in New England. He's damn good. There ain't no doubt about it.
With whoever, Garoppolo, Brissett, Castle, Brady.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. You just wonder, and the same is said about Spagnuolo, who's one of the best defense coordinators ever. No doubt about it.
I agree with that.
So what is it that they can't? Is it that the position that they got, which I think that's it, or is it they just can't handle the whole team? I don't think that's it as much. That's why you got to be careful the job you take.
It's the people above them.
Big time. You go into a bad situation, like Saleh did, he's bouncing back pretty quickly. With the Jets, right? We'll see what Aaron Glenn does. But that's a tough one, right?
So probably be in the same boat.
Yeah. Gonna be a tough one. All right, rough draft. We're gonna go through a bunch of them here, folks. You ready for this? We'll do one at a time. It's mock draft season. I'm doing a lot of work on draft picks. I'll get into that some other time. So Daniel Jeremiah. I don't mind Daniel Jeremiah, DJ, but I never agree. I think back, I got into a spat with him once. He wouldn't remember me. We did. I just never agree with his player rankings, right? And I just don't ever.
I don't even look at player ranking.
It's tricky with him, but he was so hard on Allen when I was so high on him. It's just like, what are you watching? But he, like everyone else, Mendoza won, Reese, then Fano. So like we talked about, you want Reese, Mendoza, 2 tackles and 2 receivers and Love, and now you get one.
And hopefully Love, yes.
1 3 you like. Most of them don't. It's not going our way, though. So Maya Noah goes 4th, which I could see that in Tennessee. They're going to do – could also see him going receiver, Delane, David Bailey to the Browns, Sonny Styles all the way up to 7.
That would be great.
Jeremiah Love, you're not going to like it. Reuben Bang at 9. He's got the Bengals taking McCoy from Tennessee over Caleb Downs.
Yeah, I heard that. It's just –
I hope not.
Didn't he miss a year also?
Yeah, he's the one that's been hurt.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. You can't have enough corners, but in this draft, once the Bengals get there, it's got to be best player available. Now, a lot of people may say, hey, you can't draft safety that high. Bullshit. Caleb Downs is a top 4 to 5 player in this whole entire draft. Bar none. I'm telling you right now, this kid is special. The aggression he plays on the defensive line, how he can cover, how he's a freaking quarterback in the backfield. I'm telling you, this kid is special.
Tackling machine. Does
Yeah.
not miss tackles.
Tackles.
The Bengals do
What's a
miss
tackle?
tackle. A lot of them. Kuiper, Mendoza, of course, Reese. Everybody's going to want to. I don't know about that. Mono, he's got to go in third as well. David Bailey all the way to Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to try to. I know Saul is a defensive mind. I think they're going to try to develop Ward.
Bailey's moving up.
Oh, yeah, of course he is. Cardell Tate at 5. Spencer Fano. Ruben Bain Jr. to the command. Jordan Tyson, who's an injured receiver. He's got a lot of talent there in New Orleans.
He does.
And Jeremiah Love, Kansas City. And Bell's got Caleb Downs to your Cincinnati Bengals. I like it.
I like it.
I think that draft, I'll skip Athlons and go athletic, and I'll skip a lot of the picks till we get to more of a bigger name. But the Athletics got Keldrick Falk from Auburn to the Bengals.
Don't like it.
I don't think I do either because just what he brings to the table. See, that's one of those things we've talked about. If you draft him, is he on your team 8 years from now in a starter? I think he probably is, honestly.
But what level is that?
He's a good run stopper. Right, and I just don't think you can take somebody up there with no pass rush on the edge, especially.
So real quick, what I do is I just sign DJ Reader, bring him back, put him with Shelton. Guess what? There's your run stopping right there.
Yeah.
Guess what you need? You need pass rush, brother. You need pass rush.
He's 6'6", 285 defensive end. You know, the Dunlap comparison, which I think I heard somebody say, I get that. He's young, right? So you go into quote-unquote traits. I don't like that pick. McCoy goes right after him. I just part of the problem is, and granted, you're looking at every team when you do these mock drafts, right?
Right.
I've done them forever. The problem is when it comes to the Bengals, these guys don't know their roster very well, right? They don't, and there's some of that's pretty obvious by who they take for the Bengals. But kind of like Eric Edholm from
He's okay.
NFL.com. He was on a couple different sites back when I was doing it, but Mendoza Reese again, Fano third, which I can see Tate. So Arizona we missed. They hired LaFleur from the Rams. I don't really understand the hire, but Lemon all the way up to 5 from USC. I just don't see that. Maya Bailey going 7th, Love 8th, Ruben Bain Jr. 9th, Caleb Downs 10th to your Cincinnati Bengals. He's got Sadiq all the way up to 11th at the Miami Dolphins, who hired the coordinator from Green Bay. And then we got Ryan Wilson, who does a pretty good job at CBS. But they just do so many mock drafts. They do the show and everything else. But Mendoza Reese, Maya Noah, Ruben Bain all the way to 4th. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think because they get so caught up in how he's going to measure, right? I think it's going to drop him. Tate, Fano, 6th to the Browns. Parker, Love. And I could see they got Caleb Banks from Florida all the way at 9th. Whew. 6'6", 230, 35-inch arms, he says. And then he's got David Bailey to your Cincinnati Bengals.
Wouldn't be mad about it.
Would not either. Matt Miller, I'm not a big Matt Miller fan, nothing personally. I just don't like his work. So I think he's always just trying to be different instead of actually believing it. But it's Mendoza, Reese, Maya Noah. I'll tell you, we'll skip a few Fanos going again down. It's all the usual subjects. Love to the Saints, which I can see out in David Bailey, Kansas City. Mansour Delane from LSU to the Bengals. He's probably the top corner, but man, that's hot for a corner. You better be.
I mean, you've already got so many resources at corner,
Yeah,
and that's not including some of the lower draft picks, Ivy, and I don't think you can go there with this draft pick, and then the amount of money you're going to be spending on corner, you just can't do that, in my opinion. I just don't think.
And like, even if you had 4 really good corners, really good, right? If you have no pass rush, guess what's happening to those corners?
Yeah,
they can't hold up. This is not. You just can't do it, right? You got to be blitzing all the time, and
I get it. You got to have depth, but I think you do that through free agency, and I get it. You can't get everybody through free agency either, but that's what they get paid to do. Mm-hmm. That's why these guys are up there. That's why they make the big bucks. Get it done, and set yourself up for the draft. So these questions aren't asked. They're more or less by what you pick is delivered to us like you know what the hell you're talking about.
Yep. Because, again, a lot of those mid-tier free agents are playing for the Patriots right now, right? They spent a lot of money, and they still got cap. Here's a shocker. So Lance Zerline from NFL.com has our boys all going before except one, but at 10, he's got Maya Noah at guard. That's where I just don't think you know the roster. I don't think you spent the time.
Yeah.
He could play tackle, but I think he says he bumps him inside the guard. They always act like that's easy. Let's draft the tackle, moving the guard. So you're going to draft a player, not even playing him at his position. You're going to pick him 10.
Right.
And he's got downs going 12.
And they don't need that.
No.
Yeah.
Like if I was going to draft him, he'd be probably backup tackle.
Yep.
I just don't. I don't understand.
I mean, he still could be, but start him out of guard and then swing him back out. But I mean,
but if they sign Risner, right, re-sign him, which I think they will, and the rookie,
I do too.
You're not going to play him. I just don't understand that pick.
No, neither.
Bucky Brooks, kind of,
I like Bucky.
He's all right. Yeah, he's all right. Kind of the same character. He's got Caleb Downs. Bengals could opt for a pass rusher to replace Trey Anderson, but Downs is arguably the best defender in the draft. I like it. With a dynamic game that will lead to more splash plays from a struggling defense. Could not possibly agree more, Bucky.
I agree.
Well done, Buckmeister. So that's it for the draft. So a couple player comps here that we'll talk about. So Drew Adler's kind of getting his name back out there again after his injury. Early on, I liked him as like a Big Ben type, which we talked about. I think he'll be a steal quarterback later. Caden Curry from Ohio State for the Bengals will be a nice one. I think he's going to go higher than what everybody's saying, though. I think he'll go in the second round. Senior Bowl happened. Lee Hunter's getting some big, from Texas Tech. He's a big dude, man. In late second round, that'd be a good pick. It all depends on what you do in the first round, right? And free agency, of course. But if you get an edge, if it's not Downs and you get an edge, and pairing a Hunter in there, defensive tackle would be nice. I'd prefer it not happen. Now you got Zion Young from Missouri, which none of these guys had him up early. But he's a big dude, man. I don't know if you watched him play, but he reminds me of Shamar a little bit. He's not as athletic, but sometimes you just don't see that bend from him. You got me?
Yeah.
Long arms, looks the part. He's very, very physical, knocks people on their ass. But you don't see that bend around the edge, right? In the NFL, it's just hard to overpower tackles.
It is.
Especially if that's all you're doing, right? They know it's coming. And here I got a guy for you. I don't know how much work you've done on this guy. I've done a lot. And I don't know how I feel about him yet because he's Texas A&M pass rusher, be another Texas A&M guy. Cashius Howell.
I'm not.
Oh, my gosh, dude. He's 6'2". Watch him. His ability to get low, he's shorter, but he just goes around tackles. Makes them look silly. And then in the run game, if you're watching me on video, he like the block's there, he'll jump and get in front of him and just hold his back here, and they can't move him because there'll be a block in the back, right? His feel for the run game and his size, he's a wild dude, man. Like, they talked to his coordinator, I think, and they said, what do you think about his antics, whatever it is? First of all, he got a little offended because they're not antics. He's just passionate and competitive about the game, and I'm not taking that away from him. Could he tone some stuff down? That's fine.
Sure.
He's an animal, dude, shredded. I wouldn't be surprised if that dude goes top 15 or higher. And he might be better than Bailey or some of these guys when you watch him. He's a little undersized. We'll see. And then have you watched any of the Boston kid, wide receiver from UW? Oh. So people are player comp. That's a tough one. I don't think I'd go to that. Puka. But you watch him run. He looks like Puka, man. It's like his stride. This receiver class is very deep. That concerns me about those two going to the top 10 because it's really deep. But I think they're going to fall in love with some of these guys in the draft. At the end of the day, man, if you got a Cam Ward, you got a Jackson Dart, and some of these young quarterbacks, even in Denver a little bit later on, those receivers are going to matter. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think let's not get just caught up in the first round, right?
Mm-hmm.
They pick high in the second, third round also. So some of these receivers can creep up there and be high second, high third round picks. That's just going to leave more of those trench guys, more safeties, more things that they need to build depth. And remember, that's what we want. Like out of free agency, I want to be able to say, okay, I could put these 11 out there on defense and we could win a football game. That's what I want. I don't want to say, well, we're still 2 players short. No, build it through free agency, build your depth and your future through your draft. They have to start getting to that 100%.
Yep, agreed completely. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in cap space coming in. Cap rose to $303 million. Continues to rise, and everybody will say, "Well, you got more cap space now," but when it rises, it's like inflation.
Everybody rises.
The cost of the salaries are going to rise too, right? So that's why, as we've talked about, it's important to sign a T, a Jamar, a Joe earlier than later.
Yes,
and even Trey they could have.
Yes.
Because you see the trend here, right? And the Bengals were so conservative. You would be now as we go on where the cap's at. Those guys' contracts are steals, right? and they still kind of are. They really would have been if you had signed them when you could have. So, one other comment. The Buckeyes, Ohio State Buckeyes hired Arthur Smith, coordinator. They're
Kind of seems like you like that a little bit.
I kind of do. I think the more I thought about it,
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him at all. I think he's very predictive and very vague with his offense, but I think he's a good coach. So maybe that's what it takes at the college level. We'll see, but I never was a fan with him for him in the NFL.
I saw some breakdowns of his offense in terms of the run game and like Jonnu Smith in the background. He's definitely creative, incredibly creative. How he gets matchups, but he loves the run game, right? Loves it. So I don't know how that'll fit with saying really the pass, and you got Jeremiah Smith there. Of course, what could he do, right? In Pittsburgh, I mean, what could you do, right?
Yeah.
And that's so it'll be interesting to see how that, the irony there. I heard I'm stealing from somebody else. I thought of it later, but his dad's the FedEx Fortune guy, right? So he wants some NIL money now. He'll help his son out. That money's there, right?
Sure.
Arthur Smith is a rare bird in that regard. This dude, I don't know how they split the money or what it looks like, but his family anyway is filthy rich, right? So he just keeps on coaching and he loves it, I guess. So I hope Patricia stays there, and as these stats get filled, I think he will. But you never know. You never know. I mean, you could see the Raiders reaching out to him for DC, right?
I think he'll stay there this year, but if he has another good year, he's gone.
Yeah, he might go back to NFL. But you look at it, now you got from a recruiting standpoint and a quote-unquote portal free agency, you got 2 NFL coaches there, right? And it just the stuff that Patricia did, you could tell quarterbacks didn't know what the hell they were doing, right?
Yep,
And
I agree.
they're not used to seeing all this stuff.
Yep.
He's very good teacher. So anything else you want to add for this first edition, the first episode of Brotherhood of the Bengals?
No, it was good to get this new era of Brotherhood of the Bengals started. We put some deep thought into this to whether we even wanted to do it at all. But we ended up saying that we thought it was best for the podcast and best for our future and to keep growing. So we pulled the trigger and,
Excited about it.
Yeah, excited about it. So thanks for listening to Brotherhood of the Bengal. As always, I'm not changing this. Also traffic. Stay to the right. Peace out.